After the show, a bunch of people came up to me, and I thought they were going to say, hey, great show. We had a lovely time. Everyone just said, why is there a watermelon there? And the answer is, I'll tell you later.
Are you ready for your headliner? For one single night only, New Jersey's own Glen Tickle!
Thank you. Hello. Hi. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. It is so good to be in a room with an audience that I can reach out and touch. I am not going to. I want to be clear.
I just like that I have the option, because the last couple of years, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, been a little weird for live performance. Most of the shows that I've done since 2020 have been performed live on the internet from a shed in my backyard. Don't mean to brag, I got a whole shed. It's not really what I thought I was signing up for when I started doing comedy so many years ago, but if anybody should have seen this coming, I feel like it should have been me. Because when I was in high school, you might be shocked to find out I didn't have a ton of direction. So I used to have to meet with my guidance counselor quite a bit. Again, not my idea, these appointments were mandatory. She'd bring me into her office and she'd be like, Glenn, what do you think you want to do for a career? And I was like, yuck, pass. Is that an option? Yeah, everyone I know with a job seems pretty bummed about it, actually. I don't think I want to do one of those. She's like, well, no, you're going to need a job. So maybe we can find something relevant to your interests, something you like to do anyway. What's something you enjoy doing, Glenn? I'm like, that is a brave question to ask a 15-year-old boy, man. I don't think that one's a job. And she's like, what do you like to do? And I was like, well, I like playing around on the internet, and I like making jokes with my friends. And she's like, well, Glenn, that's not a job. No one's ever gonna pay you to make jokes on the internet. And then 2020 hit, and it's like, ha, who's laughing now, Diane? It's my whole job. How dare you fail to predict the future when we had this conversation in 1998? I got a whole shed now, lady. A lot of the virtual shows that I do are for companies. I did one last December for a company based in India, which meant I got to perform at 3:30 in the morning, ante meridium, New Jersey time. So I set an alarm for the middle of the night. I wake up, get dressed all nice. I go out to a shed in my yard in the middle of a freezing cold New Jersey winter night, and I sign on to a Zoom meeting with 85 new friends from India, and every single one of them is muted and their camera's off. Yeah, ideal, I know. So then 3:30 hits, it's showtime, baby, the magic hour. I was like, guys, we can get the show started. You know, if some of you want to turn your mics and cameras on so I can see and hear you. And then in the chat, somebody just wrote, no. Just start. And I'm like, I can, but look, I do this a lot, and I promise, it'll go better if I can see and hear at least a couple of you. Doesn't have to be everybody. And then more people start chiming in with stuff like, no, just tell jokes. I had to do an hour of stand-up comedy this way, just alone in a shed in my yard, in the middle of the night, staring at a black, silent screen for an hour. I'm like, I might owe Diane an apology, actually. She might have had some valid criticisms of my career decisions. That couldn't have been fun for them to watch either, right? Because they're all on mute. That means they are not hearing each other laugh either. They're just watching a live feed of a man who's almost 40 sitting in a box that's so cold you could probably see my breath. I might as well have been holding that day's newspaper up as proof of life, because they're essentially watching a hostage video at that point. Is this what you like, India? Is this like a cultural thing that I'm unaware of? Is this what you're into? I emerged from the shed one day after a show, and my next door neighbor is this nice older gentleman. One day he sees me come out of the shed after a show, and he like waves me over to the fence, and I meet him over there, and I was like, hey man, what's up? He's like, look, I know it's none of my business, but what are you doing in there? And that's when I realized, like, all my neighbors just watch me go in and out of a shed. dressed like this at weird times of the day. I close the door. They don't hear shed noises. I'm not in there firing up power tools. Sit in a booth and I tell jokes to the internet to spite Diane. Like it's hard to explain over a fence, is what I'm saying. Besides my shed, the other big change to my comedy career when 2020 hit was I downloaded the app TikTok on my phone. If you've not been following the news, TikTok is an app that children dance on, and then through a legal loophole, I'm allowed to use it too. I shouldn't be, right? I'm too old. I turn 40 in a couple of days. I shouldn't be on there. I thought when I put it on my phone, somebody's gonna show up at my door and be like, did you just put TikTok on your phone? That's not for you. Get that off of there. You know what? Go throw your phone in a well. You don't get to have a phone anymore. There was a trend on TikTok when I started using it of people presenting trivia facts at you, but very aggressively, for no reason. I'd be scrolling through videos, some 14-year-old would pop up on my screen and be like, hey, you want to feel old? The Little Mermaid came out in 1989. I'm like, Braden, my friend, let me stop you right there. I'm in my late 30s here, bud. I got bad vision and back problems, and I'm spending most of my time on a dance app for teens. I don't need help feeling old right now, actually. I got it under control in regards to how old I feel right now. It's very, Braden, if you were curious, I feel very old right now. Also, I know it came out in 1989. I saw it in theaters, Braden. It was a magical day for me and my family when I was in the first grade. And then I blocked that kid, and I hope I never see his stupid face again. I know I seem like a nice guy. It's the dimples that throw people off. I'm petty, don't cross me. I hope that kid doesn't get into college. Maybe not no college, but certainly not his first pick. I want that kid at a mid-tier state school at best. And he has to study animation so he can memorize all the years the different Disney movies came out as some kind of Sisyphusian punishment. When we went into lockdown, my wife and I went in with a little, there was some hubris there at the beginning. My younger daughter was potty training age, and we're like, we're gonna be home for 2 weeks with nothing to do. Let's potty train this kid. We're gonna bang this out in like a day. Might even just be a long afternoon. We'll be done by dinner. Took a year. A full calendar year to potty train my second daughter, because we couldn't figure out what motivated her. With my older daughter, it was easy. We're like, sweetie, see that weird chair in there? You go sit on that, I'll give you a piece of candy. She's like, sold in the room, man. Yeah, I got it from here. It took like a week. It was easy. And we tried that with my younger kid. I was like, sweetie, if you go sit on the potty chair, I'll give you a piece of candy. She's like, you know what? I actually had some candy earlier. I'm pretty good right now. I'm pretty good right now vis-a-vis candy, you know? She likes to throw Latin phrases around, keep things spicy. I'm like, well, what's it gonna take? Stickers, cash? What do you want? How do we close this deal? We were trying stickers for a while, and I did a video about this on TikTok. I filmed it in my bathroom, and I showed my daughter's potty chart. I was like, this is my daughter's potty chart. Every time she uses the potty, she gets a sticker, and I'm so proud of my baby girl. And then I panned up, and I showed my potty chart, which had way more stickers on it, because I'm a lot better at using the potty than 3-year-olds. That video got 3 million views on TikTok. Yeah. Thank you, but I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying because that puts me in a weird spot as an entertainer, because that's the most views I've ever gotten on anything. By about 3 million views, give or take, if I'm being honest. And I don't want that to be my legacy, you know? That can't be what I'm known for. I don't want any of you guys hanging out with friends later this week and be like, I just saw a great comedy special. And your friend's like, who'd you see? Glen Tickle. The Toilet Man? Oh. He's got this great bit about stickers. Did he tell you about the shed? I bet you had yourself a time. I did find something that worked, if anybody has young children. We were doing this for a while. We have a VR headset. It is made of cardboard. I'm not bragging. It is a piece of garbage that you slide your phone into. I hate it. My children love it because they like to watch roller coaster videos. And the problem is, roller coasters, pretty fast. That's kind of the draw, right? Those videos don't last long. So like every minute and a half, I gotta slide my phone out of this thing, get the next right video they wanna watch while they're arguing over whose turn it is, slide the thing back in, get the lenses lined up or whatever. It goes missing a lot, is what I'm saying. But when I was trying to get my daughter to use the potty, I was like, sweetie, if you sit on the potty, I will let you watch roller coaster videos until you're done. And she's like, deal. It worked. It was going great. She would sit up there, watch some videos. It looked fun. I started doing it. And I recommend it. Look, if you got some time to kill in there. After like a week, I was like, oh, sweetie, we can't do this anymore. You can't watch roller coaster videos on the potty anymore. She's like, why, Daddy? I'm like, well, because someday you're going to go on a real roller coaster. And I don't want there to be a Pavlovian response when the lap bar comes down and you just unload in front of all your middle school friends. It doesn't feel like it right now. I'm doing you a favor. You're gonna thank me in a couple of years, I think, baby girl. It is great to be out of the shed, honestly. It feels fantastic to hear you guys laugh without a weird internet delay. But the first in-person show that I did in 2021, things were opening up again back in New Jersey where I live. The first in-person show that I did was at a, let's call it a plant store. For a plant that's legal in New Jersey. I don't think you guys have it all the way here yet in Pennsylvania, right? Some of you have managed to find it. I have a pretty good sense of smell. I noticed as I was walking across the parking lot to get here, some of you have found the plant. The name of the store is NJ Weedman's Joint. It's probably not important. It's just a fun, colorful detail. But they asked me to do the show. I drive down, I park in front of the venue, and then I find out it is across the street from Trenton Police Headquarters. Yeah. I'm like, God, I know it's legal, but this does feel like a trap, you know? Like, I didn't think I was gonna get arrested, but they might tell my mom, and to me, that's worse. I'm a good boy. I don't want Pam to be disappointed in her little angel, you know? But we go in, we do the show. It went great, by the way. Everybody laughed really hard at everything the comedian had to say in a foggy tent behind a weed store. Probably unrelated to the location of the performance. Just, I'm very good at this, that's all. But then the next day, I was hanging out down at my parents' house, and my dad's like, hey, things are opening up again. Have you done any in-person shows lately? It was like, funny you should ask. I did one last night at a weed store in Trenton. And without missing a beat, my dad goes, NJ Weedman's Joint? I was like, Dad, hang on. Are you secretly incredibly cool? Because you shouldn't have waited till my late 30s to bring that up. He tried to save face. He's like, no, I used to be a cop. Yeah, bud, you've not been a cop since I was 6. I don't think NJ Weedman was in operation in the late 80s. Bit of a disclaimer here, because he's here. The reason my dad knew the name of the weed store was because I was posting about the show on social media, and my parents are weirdly supportive of my comedy career, which, like, there's a stereotype that, like, all comedians come from broken homes or whatever, and, like, my dad has probably seen me do this more than anybody else in the world. He comes to a lot of my shows, and sometimes I'll be in the green room, and I'll mention to other comics, I'm like, oh, yeah, my dad's here. And they're like, are you gonna be all right? Yeah, my dad's awesome. Talk to him after the show. He'll probably buy you a beer. Or if you need some weed, it sounds like he could hook you up. When I was down at my parents' house, my mom's like, Glenn, I have some of your baby stuff if you want to take it back with you. And I'm like, well, I'm an adult man, Mother. That's not going to fit. You're being ridiculous. She's like, no, I mean for your kids. And I thought she meant clothes or like toys or something. She handed me an envelope of my hair and teeth from when I was a baby. You know, in case I want to cast any spells, I guess, Mom? I don't know. And I'm just like, Mother, why? Why? How come? Why? Why? How come? Why? And she's like, what's your hair from your first haircut and it's some of your baby teeth? Yeah, no, that wasn't the question, actually. I figured out what this was on site. I'm pretty clever. My question is, why do you have it? Why do you think I want it? And why do you think I'm going to be bequeathing it upon my own children? Baby teeth aren't backups, right? I'm not gonna get in a bar fight after the show. Have to call my mom in the morning to like, hey, do you have any of those spares from when I was a kid? I know my adult teeth are a lot bigger, but if we pop 2 or 3 of the old ones in, I don't think anybody's gonna be able to tell the difference, you know? Although, like I said, I turned 40 pretty soon. I'm thinning out a little bit up top, so I don't know if I have to tape the baby hair down or get a witch to make it into some kind of poultice. I don't know. I don't know what the system is. First time I ever did that joke on stage, a woman called out. She just goes, DNA evidence. And I'm like, excuse me? She goes, DNA evidence. Your parents kept your teeth in case they ever needed DNA evidence. I'm like, grim. Also, 100% not why my parents kept my baby teeth. I lost my first tooth in 1988 there, Watson and or Crick. No one knew what DNA was back then. We all learned what DNA was together as a society from that cartoon on the ride in Jurassic Park, right? Like, we all learned about it with our friend Dr. Ian Malcolm. Sometimes, by the way, after I do that joke on a show, people will come up to me afterwards and they will tell me that they have some of their kids' teeth. I want to preemptively let you know, you don't need to tell me that. You don't need to tell anyone about your dark little tooth secret. You can keep that in here, where it belongs. Don't tell that to strangers. That's just gonna get used as evidence against you later at the trial. Trial for what? Does it matter? Can you picture a legal scenario where presenting an envelope of your own baby teeth is gonna exonerate you of a crime? Your Honor, I know that every piece of evidence presented by the prosecution makes it very clear that I burned down that building. But I would like to enter into evidence this envelope of small teeth. I think this will prove my innocence. No, you go to extra jail at that point. I told my wife, I was like, yeah, my mom tried to give me a bunch of my baby teeth. Isn't that wild? And then she said, well, we have some of our kids' teeth. Why? Why? And then, as if it would make it better, she said, but not all of them. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, not all of them. It's not weird as long as it's not all of them, right? Like, I didn't realize we were picking favorites. Like, what's this, a bicuspid? Get out of here. Incisors are better, go in the collection. She's right, though. We do not have all of our kids' teeth because my kids are 10 and 4. A lot of their teeth are still in their heads where they belong. It's not the only reason. The other reason is because when my older daughter lost her first tooth, basically fell out of her mouth and into our dog's mouth. And he ate it up. Yum, yum, yum. Yeah. We did have the conversation. We're like, we can get that back in like a day or two, right? But nobody wants to work anymore. So we're like, sorry, sweetie. Teeth dissolve instantly in dog stomachs. Everyone knows that. That's just science. But she was upset because it was her first tooth. She was looking forward to her first visit from the tooth fairy. And she's like, Daddy, the tooth fairy's not going to come because we don't have the tooth. I'm like, I should have kept that envelope from my mom. I don't think the tooth fairy can tell the difference between a tooth that fell out of a child's head mere hours ago versus a mummified one from the late 80s. It would have worked. But we didn't have them, so I was like, sorry, here's what I'll do, sweetie. I will write a note to the tooth fairy. So I wrote, hey, tooth fairy, the kid's tooth fell out, then the dog ate it, but that's fine, love daddy. And I showed it to my daughter. I was like, see, sweetie? Tooth fairy will still come. And she reads the note. She's like, not with this. She ripped it up, made me do 4 more drafts of a letter to the tooth fairy, each one increasingly convincing to get her to still leave my daughter a present, while I'm also trying to be more convincing with my kid about why I'm so sure it's gonna work out, but without like revealing the source of my confidence. I was just like, don't worry, sweetie. Daddy's pretty sure you're waking up with an LOL doll that was on clearance at Target the other day underneath your pillow. She came through, by the way. The toy was there, 10 out of 10. Great job, Tooth Fairy. I can see some of you bristling at the idea that the Tooth Fairy leaves presents now. I can hear you screaming in your heads, no, you leave her a shiny dime, like the 50s. Look, inflation has come for everybody, even the Tooth Fairy. They're up to toys now. I'm not happy about it either. Could be worse. When the kid in my daughter's kindergarten class, the first child she knew to lose a tooth, lost that tooth on a family vacation to Las Vegas. So that Tooth Fairy was like, what a magical time for this little angel to lose their first tooth. Oh, what a special day. We're going to keep the magic rolling. They gave that child a $100 bill. Yeah, that's too much. Look, I'm not here to question anybody's tooth fairy decisions, but that's a lot of money. You're throwing the tooth economy off for the whole class at that point. Plus, think it through. That's their first tooth. You can't start at $100 because it's a special day and hope to bump it down over time. No, you're making a $2,000 investment over the life of that kid's baby teeth at that point. Plus, that kid's gonna go back to school on Monday, tell their friends what happened, and then recess that day is just gonna be a bunch of 5-year-olds punching each other in the mouth trying to cash in. I have 2 kids, like I mentioned. My wife and I wanted 2 kids. We have 2 kids. We're done. And I say that, and then sometimes people are like, you never know. I don't know why they say it like the Pillsbury Doughboy, but that's how I hear it in my brain. They're like, you never know. And I say people like it's gonna be you guys after the show. Historically, it's just been my parents and recently the Supreme Court for some reason. They're like, no, more kids. Look, you're getting 2, relax. And my dad's argument, he's like, well, Glenn, you have 2 little girls. Who's gonna carry on the family name? Tickle? I don't know, Dad. Let's let this one die. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do this to another generation. It's weird, none of us have changed it. My mom's argument, she's like, well, Glenn, you have 2 little girls. Don't you wanna try for a boy? Right? Boys and girls are different. Don't you wanna try for a boy? Yes, Mom. Girls and girls are different. I don't know if you guys have ever, met 2 women before. They're not all the same. Also, it's 2023. I don't think we're doing gender anymore. I think that might be over. I got 2 little girls now. I might end up with a son. It's out of my hands. I was in a Facebook group for dads, and somebody posed the question. They're like, what would you do if one of your kids told you they were trans? And my response was, I guess take them suit shopping and start practicing the new name. Doesn't seem that hard to just support your kid. But neither of my children have ever given us any indication that they're anything but the little girls we assume them to be. But for like a year, my younger daughter would only answer to the name Elsa, which is not the name we gave her. She just loves the Frozen movies. Elsa's her hero, so she wanted people to call her Elsa. And when she told me that, I wasn't like, well, sweetie, biologically, you're not a magical ice princess, so daddy's not gonna call it. No, I called her Elsa, and I help her with the day-to-day operations of running her kingdom. I'm basically the Comptroller of Arendelle. She's got a whole outfit. She's a floor-length ball gown with Elsa's picture on the front. Came with a tiara and elbow-length gloves made of a non-stretch material. Thank you, whoever at the Disney Corporation made that exciting decision. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to put regular gloves on a kid. They don't know how their fingers work or where the holes are. Now picture that glove is half the length of that kid's arm and made of an unforgiving nylon. Like it's like trying to wrestle an octopus into a tube sock. But I would do it because I love my little ice princess. And she would wear it out. Like we would go run errands and she would be in like full Elsa regalia. And that's when I found out that most people, if you're even a little bit familiar with the Frozen family of entertainment, if you see an adorable little child just dressed head to toe as Elsa come around the corner at the store, most people would just go, oh, hi, Elsa. And it made her so happy every time. Her little face would light up because she was getting validated, being called the name she wanted to be called. But one day, we were going to Target, which is like her favorite place in the world because I'm raising basic white women. She's usually so excited to be going in there, but she didn't have her Elsa outfit on, and we were walking up to the store, and I could see she looked worried. I was like, what's wrong, sweetie? We're going to Target. This is basically your Versailles. Why are you in such a bad mood? And she says, well, Daddy, I don't have my Elsa dress on, so they're not going to know that my name is Elsa. And I'm like, I mean, they're not going to know my name's Glenn. That's not how Target works. Like, you don't walk in and they scream your name at you. You're not Norm from Cheers. What are you expecting? But I could tell she was worried and she felt bad, and I wanted to cheer her up. So we walk up to the Target. We go in the first door. Our Target has a set of double doors. I don't know if they all do. Probably the good ones. Ours does. So we walk in this first door. I was like, sweetie, you wait right there. And then I walk in the second door, and I announced her to Target. Like you know the coronation scene in Frozen where the old guy announces Elsa? You all also have to watch Frozen 3 times a day like I do, right? I walk in the second door, and I was like, attention, citizens of Target. Now presenting Queen Elsa of Arendelle. And you should have seen that little girl strut into Target. Just shoulders back, chin up. She was so proud. Nobody called her Elsa. They weren't listening to me. You don't get to just make proclamations at Target. That's not the moral of the story. She could just tell that, like, Daddy had her back. It made her happy. And I'm not trying to compare, like, the actual experience that trans people go through to a weird phase my kid was going through. It's just that's, like, the closest I have to that experience. I'm not 100% sure what I would do if one of my kids told me they were trans. But now, I'm pretty sure I would confidently march into the nearest Target and announce it to anyone who needs to hear. Thank you. I'll let her know. I'll tell her you guys like that bit. She'll be thrilled. My children are very different from one another. Like, there's an age gap, like I said, that's part of it, but they're just completely different in almost every way. My kids have a real R2-D2 C-3PO from Star Wars dynamic. My older daughter is very tall, talks a lot. She's British for some reason. Meanwhile, her little sister's just running headlong into danger, making noises you don't really understand. My younger daughter lives her life the way I play the video game Grand Theft Auto, which is to say I'm only ever a little bit sure what the actual mission is, so sometimes it's like, yeah, I don't know, let's just steal a car, see how long we can outrun the cops. Like, that's the energy my daughter brings to every day of her tiny little life. Every morning for me starts with a 4-year-old in an Elsa ball gown kicking in my door, like, let's go, old man, we're going on an adventure. All right. Here's my keys, you want to drive? I'm a little bit afraid of you. I love that little girl. I'm just glad I'm on her good side, you know? But they are. My younger daughter she's wild. She broke her arm during the pandemic. That's not a symptom of COVID. She fell off the monkey bars at a playground conveniently located right next to a hospital. So we're like, hey, points off for the monkey bars, but you can't beat the location, right? So we gave the playground 4 stars on Yelp. We scoop our baby girl up. We walk her into the ER, and they do an x-ray on her. And they're like, well, this is actually a pretty serious break. She's gonna need to see a child orthopedic surgeon to reset the bone. And we don't have one on staff here. I'm like, you should get one. You're right next to a playground. Kids are falling off of left and right. Talk to HR, get somebody down here. And they're like, well, we're gonna have to move you to the children's hospital so she can see the child orthopedic surgeon. And look, it's scary when your kids hurt themselves. It's scary when a comedian you barely know's daughter hurt herself well over a year ago. She's fine now. She was on the monkey bars this morning. She's okay. But I was relieved when I got to the children's hospital and I found out that the child orthopedic surgeon was an adult. It was not just like a bigger kid. I thought it might have been an 8th grader with a scalpel, you know? It was a stressful day. My brain wasn't operating at peak efficiency, right? The guy was younger than me, though, so I'm like, I do need to see, like, a diploma or something there. Doogie Howser, like, prove to me you know how to do this. Look, she's fine. I can tell I've lost some of you because I made a joke about my daughter hurting herself, but I promise that I've maintained a higher percentage of this room than the hospital room when I was doing this in real time. My wife's like, maybe stop roasting our toddler for falling off of a playground. Like, I can't. This is how I deal with stress. I make jokes about stuff to make myself feel better. If I don't make jokes about this, I'm gonna snap. Not unlike our daughter's elbow. Thank you. That is a perfect joke. The day she broke her arm, she's like, Daddy, I can still go on the monkey bars, right? I was like, we're gonna take a little break from the monkey bars, I think, because you're not gonna be able to bend your arm for a while. And she's like, I'll do it one-handed. I'll do it with my feet. You're never gonna slow me down, old man. All right. They told us when they put the cast on, they're like, yeah, we're gonna put a cast on her, come back in 3 weeks, we'll take it off, she'll probably be fine. I'm like, 3 weeks? That's all? Is that long enough? I feel like if I broke my arm, it would take a lot longer than 3 weeks for it to heal. And the guy's like, Bud, you're almost 40. If you break your arm, we're gonna put you down like a horse. All right, fair enough. The cast came off after 3 weeks. She's back to 100%. You do not need to feel bad for my daughter. Meanwhile, I accidentally kicked a stool on stage in August of 2021, and my ankle still hurts when it rains. So if you're gonna feel bad for anyone in this story, it should be me and my decrepit old man body. Do you know the marshmallow test that they do on kids? Couple yeses, couple blank stares. All right, I was gonna explain it anyway. I don't know why I even asked. There's this experiment. You give a kid a marshmallow. You're like, you can eat this, but I'm gonna leave for a few minutes. If the marshmallow's still here when I come back, you get a second marshmallow, right? Tests like impulse control and delayed gratification. It's supposed to, it doesn't. It's a bad experiment. That's not the point. My point is my older daughter would 100% pass that test and get a second and probably third marshmallow. How? I'm not really sure. Blackmail, if I had to guess. My younger daughter, just the one marshmallow, obviously, just the one, and then she would burn the lab down. Not to make s'mores, just to stare into the fire and feel alive for a little bit. We did our own version of the marshmallow experiment. My mother-in-law gave my kids these marshmallow treats. It was 4 marshmallows on a stick, rolled in chocolate and candy. And they're like, Daddy, can we eat these for dessert tonight? I'm like, well, they're pretty big. You can have half tonight and half tomorrow. And my older daughter did what a human would do. She slid 2 marshmallows off the stick, ate them up, yum, 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 what a tasty treat. My younger daughter just kind of went outside in, just like corn on the cob did. Just ate all the chocolate and candy off the marshmallows, and then she's like, that's about half. Hang on to that for me. I'm coming back for that tomorrow. You said half tonight, half tomorrow. I did it by weight. You weren't expecting that. My older daughter's favorite cereal is Special K, like she's a secretary on her break at work, giving herself a little treat. I want to be clear. We have better cereal at the house. It's not like that's the only one we've shown her and she's like, yeah, this is fine. My younger daughter's favorite cereal is Lucky Charms, a classic, right? And I noticed, because we keep those cereals next to each other on top of the fridge, if you're ever at my house wondering where the cereal is, the nutrition labels were turned out, and I went to get my kids breakfast the one morning, and that's when I noticed that Special K and Lucky Charms are almost nutritionally identical. There's no reason to eat Special K. Just get the Lucky Charms. Treat yourself. You deserve it. Now, I say this with a small caveat. They are only almost nutritionally identical if you eat all the cereal pieces in the Lucky Charms and you don't just pick the marshmallows out and throw the bowl across the living room like my kid does. I don't think she's getting all the vitamins and minerals Lucky the Leprechaun has on offer. And when she started doing this, I was like, sweetie, absolutely not. No. You cannot pick out the marshmallows and throw the cereal on the floor. You're wasting food. You're making a mess. You're basically just eating candy for breakfast. This is wrong on every level. And she looked at me like I was the biggest idiot in the world. She's like, Daddy, this is how I eat cereal. It's how I've always eaten cereal. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I watched her do it one morning. She picked all the marshmallows out, and then like while she was making eye contact with me as like a power move, she just like tipped it off the side of the table, and I watched it slowly tumble to the floor, and then something clicked in my brain, like the end of The Usual Suspects, where I realized what had been going on. Remember that dog I mentioned from the tooth joke? We used to have a dog. We don't have a dog anymore. I'm not trying to bring the room down. That's just how time works. So my daughter, she would ask for a bowl of Lucky Charms. I'd give it to her. She'd walk in the living room. She'd pick the marshmallows out, yeet the bowl across the room. Then the dog would come in, eat all the cereal off the floor, right? Hide all the evidence. She'd walk back in the kitchen with the bowl, be like, can I have some more Lucky Charms? I'm like, yeah, of course. I have no reason to be suspicious of this arrangement. Have all the Lucky Charms you want, baby girl. Taste the rainbow. I think that might be Skittles, but whatever. You get the point. Enjoy your snack. And then the dog died, and pretty quickly I was like, I'm cleaning up a lot more cereal spills lately than I kind of remember ever having to do previously. I wonder what that's all about. And then it clicked. I'm like, they've been in cahoots this whole time. They've been pulling an elaborate marshmallow heist on me for who knows how long. Look, I know it's a weird thing to bring up the fact that my dog died in the middle of a comedy show. It's not that weird if you're familiar with some of my other work. But look, my dog... Elvis Costello Tickle lived to be 16. He had a good run. He was a good boy the whole time. And he died doing what he loved, eating garbage off the floor that he wasn't supposed to have. Everyone's like, Glenn, how'd your dog die? Full of Lucky Charms, actually. It was the best day of his life. He really went out on a high note. I'm not saying Lucky Charms killed my dog. I'm sure they didn't help, but... All right. But thank you for letting me get through that. There will be no more dead dog jokes for the remainder of the stand-up comedy show that you're at. I travel a lot for work as a comedian, obviously, and I was in Baltimore doing some shows. This was around the time, I don't know if you remember this, in 2021, 5 zebras escaped a zoo outside of Baltimore, Maryland. And as far as I know, some of them are still on the loose. And I was in Baltimore when this happened, and no one told me. I found out about it weeks later. Look, if there's a weird animal running around your town, let the visitors know. Because I don't know what I would have done if I was driving home from a comedy club in the middle of the night and a zebra jumped out in front of my car in Maryland. Who do you call to say you're having an hallucination in Maryland? Is it still 911? Was there a less urgent zebra hotline that I was supposed to be made aware of? If I see a zebra in the parking lot when I leave here tonight, my first thought won't be, oh, look, a zebra. It's, I need immediate medical attention. I have moments to live. At the beginning of this joke, I said, as far as I know, some of the zebras are still on the loose. That is true. I've only seen one official update to the story. It said, dead zebra found. Look, I said there'd be no more dead dog jokes. I didn't say anything about zebras. I'm a man of my word. Dead zebra found, believed to be from Zoo Escape. Congratulations, detective. I think you cracked the case. It seems unlikely to me that there was a sixth mystery zebra running around Baltimore, and that happened to be the one that you stumbled across today, you know? But I didn't read the whole article, because who has the time? It might have had a quote from a skeptical zookeeper who's just like, that's not one of ours. We scan them like barcodes when we bring them into the zoo. I've never seen that animal before in my life. He just dedicates the rest of his career to trying to find where this zebra came from. I don't know the minimum breeding population for zebras, but I sure hope it's 4 zebras, because how great would it be if now there's a bunch of wild zebras running around Maryland? They start populating in the wild like Jurassic Park. The whole state just gets overrun. It's the new state animal by default. People start riding them to work, leaving them on the sidewalk like those scooters every city has now for some reason. Maryland gets taken over by zebras like the time Australia almost lost a war to emus in the 30s. Wow, about 4 of you put in a lot of work on that one, but that's honestly the best reaction that line has ever gotten. Usually I am met with blank stares, because it turns out most people aren't as familiar with the Great Emu War of 1932 as I assumed we all were when I decided to put that line in the act. It usually falls totally flat. A lesser comedian would cut it from the show, not me. I will now instead launch into a brief history lesson to get the rest of you caught up with my friends here who are fans of obscure Australian history. Picture it. 1932, Western Australia. There is a flock of rogue emus, 20,000 strong, roaming the outback of Western Australia, eating all the wheat. And as you all know, 1932, that's the peak of the Great Depression. They needed that wheat. So they sent the Australian military in to put down a flock of birds. I don't know if there's any ornithologists in the crowd tonight, but emus are as tall as I am, hate people, and are really hard to kill with bullets. So as soon as the Australian army rolls up on a flock of 20,000 velociraptors from Jurassic Park, they're like, no, this is emu country now. We're all gonna be out east surfing. We do not have time for this. They gave up twice in pretty rapid succession. And I'm not making fun of the Australian army in this story, because when I compared them to the velociraptors from Jurassic Park, that was specific and on purpose. Real velociraptors were only about that big. They weren't that scary. When they made the movie, Steven Spielberg was like, make them emu height. Let's really freak people out. We got, like, you could remake most of Jurassic Park with emus instead of dinosaurs. It is just as scary. Just picture 2 children in a kitchen with emus, right? That's a frightening thought. The history lesson is over. You've made it through. Congratulations. Thank you. Some of you like that more than the rest, I could tell, but don't worry. My children also hate it when I try to teach them things or talk to them about Jurassic Park. Like my 4-year-old who's in preschool now and hates it. She hates school. And as her father, I feel like that should concern me. As a comedian, there's actually kind of nothing funnier to me than seeing someone so little and pure who hates something so much. And I was worried because she's 4, so for most of her life, we were all home all the time together. The only other kid she was playing with was her big sister. So before she started preschool, I was like, is she gonna have social skills? Like, is she gonna be able to make friends like a normal kid? But before she started preschool, she told me, she's like, Daddy, Pizza Man is my best friend. Because Pizza Man brings pizza. And I'm like, You're developing fine, sweetie. Pizza Man's also Daddy's best friend. We all love Pizza Man at the Tickle house. Somebody told me recently, like, Glenn, pizza is really bad for you. Every slice of pizza you eat takes 8 minutes off your life. It's basically like smoking a cigarette. And I'm like, there's no way that's true. Because, look, if you did that math, if you added up every slice of pizza that I've eaten in my life and multiplied that by 8 minutes, you'd have to go back in time to 1910 and kill my great-grandparents before they emigrated from Hungary for that balance sheet to clear. Pizza is bad for me. I know that because I found out recently that I'm lactose intolerant. Yeah, I'll spare you the fun details of that personal journey of discovery. But I had a doctor's appointment one morning and I described my symptoms. She's like, yeah, you're probably lactose intolerant or you're just eating an absurd amount of pizza. And I was like, well, I guess it's the lactose intolerance because I promise I only eat the normal amount of pizza. But later that day, I was having lunch with a friend and I told her, I was like, yeah, it turns out I'm lactose intolerant. She's like, I'm watching you eat pizza while you tell me that. And I'm like, yeah, I don't mean pizza. And she's like, well, that's cheese, dummy. That has lactose in it. That's going to mess your stomach up. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I love pizza enough to let it destroy me, so I'm going to continue living my life like I'm a Ninja Turtle and seeing how far I can take this thing. I used to play a lot of the Ninja Turtle video games as a kid. Like, you get hit by a bad guy to get your health to go back up. You just, like, pick up a slice of pizza off the floor of a sewer, where we're all getting pizza from all the time. I was in my mid-20s before I realized that's not how pizza or health works. I would just be sitting there in college like, I'm not feeling great today. I better go eat an entire pizza to really max my health out before the big exam. It's amazing I'm not dead, is what I'm saying. For a couple of reasons. Like, I've accepted pizza before and after comedy shows from strangers an alarming number of times. One time I was doing a show in Baltimore after I let a bunch of zebras out of a zoo, and there was a guy after the show, he's like, hey man, do you want some pizza? I was like, I do. It doesn't even bother me that you weren't at the show, that you just appeared after, but yeah, let's go. And then I followed a stranger out of the back of a comedy club down a weird alley into a parking lot where there was just a box of pizza sitting on a car. Not his car, just a car. I'm like, no further questions. Let's enjoy this delicious snack as friends. I gotta stop telling you guys how to kidnap me. It's too easy to get me to follow you down an alley, I'm pretty sure pizza's gonna be what kills me, but I don't want that to be how. But I don't eat meat, which I've talked about before, and between that and the lactose intolerance, I'm like most of the way to being a vegan. I'm not really there yet because it seems hard. But there was a vegan deli in my town for a while, and maybe you're wondering how much demand could there have possibly been for a vegan deli? Not a lot. It didn't stay open very long, and I was usually the only one in there. But I would go in, and they had all these vegan propaganda posters up inside. And I was like, guys, I'm pretty sure anyone walking in here is more or less on your side. Maybe put the posters outside where other people could see them. One of the posters said, did you know that there's more protein in 100 calories of broccoli than in 100 calories of steak? And my first reaction, as I can see some of you are thinking right now, was, there's no way that's true. I looked it up, it's true. There's more protein in 100 calories of broccoli than 100 calories of steak. But do you know how much broccoli is 100 calories of broccoli? It is multiple heads of broccoli. You would not survive 100 calories of broccoli. Joey Chestnut couldn't choke down 100 calories of broccoli, and he'd fart himself to death for even trying. That is a lethal dose of florets. The other reason that I'm not vegan is because during the pandemic, my wife decided that we need to raise and keep chickens in our suburban New Jersey backyard. A decision I still don't fully understand, and I'm genuinely a little surprised every time I'm back there and there's chickens. Now, there is a period of time from when your wife decides, we're gonna get some chickens, to when you actually have chickens. It was a couple months. She was like doing research, trying to find the best breed. Sapphire gems, apparently, I trust her judgment. If anybody's looking for some backyard chickens, Pennsylvania, pretty similar climate to New Jersey, I'm sure they would thrive here as well. But every day during this period, my children would ask me, they'd be like, Daddy, are you excited about the chickens? And I don't like to lie to my kids. So I'd be like, no, I'm not. I can tell you are, and I know Mommy is. She hasn't stopped talking about it for months. But I'm not gonna act thrilled that farm chores are being introduced to my life. Because I don't know if you guys could tell from just the number of times I've brought up the movie Jurassic Park during this show, more of an indoors kid, But she picked this breed and she told me, she's like, I'm gonna order them from a farm in Texas. I'm like, are you telling me I have to drive to Texas and pick up baby chicks? Because I don't want to do that. And she's like, no, you don't have to drive to Texas. They send them through the mail. She said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Like they just do it every day. Because they do. Every year, millions of baby chicks are sent through the United States Postal Service. When a baby chick is born, it absorbs the rest of the yolk and it doesn't have to eat anything for 2 days, which is a prime shipping window. So they box them up and send them on their way. It's ridiculous. It dates back to 1892, when one farmer in New Jersey decided to mail some chickens to a friend of his, another farmer in New Jersey, and he showed up at the post office, and in 1892, the post office was playing by Air Bud rules. They're like, there's not a law that says you can't do this, so yeah, I guess it's fine. But that was a long time ago. There's gotta be a better way now, right? And my wife's like, no, that's how they do it. It's gonna be fine. So she orders the chicks, the day comes, the chicks hatch in Texas, they box them up, and they send them on their way to New Jersey. Then a storm sweeps across most of the country, a big one. Remember when Ted Cruz ran away from a storm to go from Texas to Mexico? That storm. So the day these baby chicks are supposed to arrive on our doorstep, my wife gets an email from the post office that's just like, I don't know. At this point, we have Schrodinger's chicks. They're in a box, in a quantum state, alive and dead, because we can't observe them. So as soon as my wife gets that email, like literally reads the email, before she puts her phone down, she's like, well, I guess it's time for Plan B. Plan B was she drove to a Tractor Supply warehouse 5 miles from our house, bought some sapphire gem chicks, and brought them home. And I'm like, hang on, that was Plan B? Plan B was go to a place pretty close to where we live and just get the chickens. Plan A, which is traditionally reserved for the best plan, that was box them up in Texas and hope for the best. My love, we need to have a frank discussion about how you're ordering your plans. There's now a weird period of time where we have the chickens from Tractor Supply. These other chicks might show up. That's a problem because that would be too many chickens. At that point, we would be in violation of a local ordinance for having too many chickens in our yard. The limit is 5. Here's the thing. When my wife decided she wanted to get chickens, there were no hard rules on chicken ownership in our town. And my wife does not stand for ambiguity, so she started going to town council meetings with a bunch of chicken questions. Until eventually they're like, do you want to just write an ordinance and we'll pass it? Stop coming. We don't want to talk about chickens every time. Which is admittedly how she gets me to agree to most stuff too. She's tenacious and I love that about her. So she did. She got like another town's chicken ordinance, like made some changes, handed it in like a homework assignment, and they're like, yeah, fine, we don't want to see you anymore. But now we have 4 chickens, the limit is 5, and my wife will constantly be like, I'd like to get some more chickens, but the limit's 5. I'm like, you wrote the limit. That's your law. You could have made it any number you wanted to. You could have made it 100. Don't. Our yard's not that big, but you don't have anyone to blame here but yourself, my love. We're almost done here. We're gonna finish strong. I'm not gonna end my comedy special on a joke that is essentially a 6-piece McNugget box. I've mentioned it a good number of times during this show. I live in New Jersey. I was born in New Jersey. I've lived there my entire life. I will die in New Jersey unless I break the witch's curse. I can't get out. But it's a weird fact of my life that a lot of people think I live here in Pennsylvania. And look, Pennsylvania, I have nothing against you. You're a beautiful Commonwealth. You might even get to become a state someday. I don't know what the rules are. I can tell that joke upsets you. And honestly, I don't know why, but I don't think you know why either. Look, William Penn filled some paperwork out wrong hundreds of years ago, and now you guys are a Commonwealth instead of a state. You can't blame that on me. And when I was trying to decide where I wanted to film this special, I was making a list. right? I shot one in Brooklyn, I shot one in Utah. I was like, oh, where do I want to go? I was just making a list, not committing to anything, just big picture thinking, where do I want to go? Did a lot of shows in Nebraska last year. Maybe I'll go film it in Omaha. Maybe we'll go international, I'll film it in Budapest. We'll see how that goes. I got a friend at NASA, I'll go shoot it on the moon. Anything's possible. I had a second list of places I knew I was not going to film this comedy special. And the top of that list, and the only thing on that list, was right here at Steel Stacks in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Now, I love it here. I've performed here more than anywhere else in the world except for a shed in my backyard. The only reason I didn't want to do it was I did my first album here. I didn't want to repeat a location. But then I was on the road, I did a show in Colorado, and I ran into a friend of mine. I'd known this guy for like a decade, and he sees me, he's like, hey man, do you still live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania? I'm like, no, never have, never will, 908 for life. And then I realized, it's your fault, Steel Stacks. You're why people think I live here. Because I do so many shows here and I'm posting about them all the time. I think it's like when you were a kid and you ran into your teacher at the store and you're like, weird, I guess I just kind of always assumed you lived at the school. Like, I'm always posting about shows I'm doing here, and people are like, I guess he's got, like, an apartment above one of the blast furnace, like Mike Seaver in the last season of Growing Pains. Like, I live in New Jersey. I wanted to come back here and set the record straight. Also, I know I'm not that famous. Like, my career's going pretty good, but I'm not that famous. And a lot of very famous people have come from New Jersey. We got Frank Sinatra, Bruce Springsteen, George from Seinfeld, Whitney Houston, Shaquille O'Neal, comedian Jon Stewart, Kevin Smith, Bud Abbott, and Lou Costello, both from New Jersey. We got Dr. Sidney Zweibel. More astronauts who have walked on the moon have come from New Jersey than any other state. Is that true? I have no idea. Feels like it should be though, right? But none of those people that I just listed come from Warren County, New Jersey, where I live. Yeah. So imagine my delight when I signed on to local news outlet NJ.com one morning, and I see the headline, the most famous celebrities from every county in New Jersey. And I'm like, well, it's weird they didn't want to interview me before the article came out, but it's always nice to see your name in the news, So I scroll down to the bottom of the list, Warren County, the last alphabetically of New Jersey's 21 counties, a thing I'm sure you all also learned in 4th grade. Now, they didn't pick me, or this wouldn't be a fun story to tell on stage. They picked Jason Voorhees. From the Friday the 13th movies. Now, let me be clear. They didn't pick one of the actors who've portrayed Jason Voorhees over the years, because none of those guys come from Jersey, I checked. They picked fictional hockey enthusiast and famously bad swimmer Jason Voorhees. Instead of me, real boy with feelings, Glen Tickle. And I complained online. I was like, hey, I understand that Jason Voorhees is a lot more well-known than I am. But I'm real, and I have real feelings that you hurt with your little article. And they replied. They're like, all right, man, there's no shortage of celebrities that come from Jersey. We'll update the list. Maybe we'll add famous singer Halsey. She's from Jersey. I was like, yeah, but she's from Middlesex County. Do your research. No wonder nobody trusts the media anymore. You can't be making up what counties people come from and putting fake murderers on your list. It's not good journalism. Also, I don't know how deep into the Friday the 13th franchise any of you guys are, but Jason Voorhees is not from Warren County. He's from Cunningham County, a place that doesn't exist. They made it up for the movie. It's named after the director. The reason they say Jason Voorhees comes from Warren County is because they shot Friday the 13th at a camp about 10 minutes away from my house. So look, I don't know how many teenagers I have to go murder in the woods before NJ.com is gonna give me the goddamn respect I think I deserve. But I live 10 minutes away from Camp Crystal Lake, and you can buy a machete at Walmart for $7. You shouldn't be able to, right? I think we can all agree. I don't know where you guys stand on gun control. I think we can all agree machetes should probably be a little harder to get your hands on. They're not even in a case. They're just in an aisle on a peg like an action figure next to rope. It just goes very affordable machete, rope, plastic bags that are way too big for trash. There's a murder aisle at Walmart. They call it the camping section. I know what that is, Walmart. That is when you want to do a murder on a budget. And maybe you're thinking, well, Glenn, for $7, you're not going to get a quality machete. I don't need it to be. I'm not using it to cut brush in the outback while I'm fighting off an emu insurrection. I just need it to stay sharp long enough to make a name for myself. Because if I'm not famous enough for NJ.com, I'll be infamous enough for NJ.com. I live in New Jersey, and I'm going back there now. Thank you so much for coming out. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Give it up for yourselves one more time.